Hi, and welcome to the Design Systems Podcast. This podcast is about the place where design and development overlap. We talk with experts to get their point of view about trends in design, code, and how it relates to the world around us. As always, this podcast is brought to you by Knapsack. Check us out at knapsack.cloud. If you want to get in touch with the show, ask some questions, or generally tell us what you think, go ahead and tweet us at the DS Pod. We'd love to hear from you. Hey, everybody, this is Chris with the Design Systems Podcast. We're going to do something a little bit different today. We're going to talk about this really cool plan that we have at Knapsack. We try really hard to not make this show about our company or us specifically. We try really hard to elevate stories in the community, people that are doing really amazing things, talking about what it's like to work here, talking about all the really incredible things that are going on. And we've actually taken that concept and we've extended it to real life. And so today, we're going to talk about this really awesome, exciting opportunity called Patterns. It's a conference that we're going to be throwing in June in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And my guest today is Ryan Peterson, the VP of Marketing at Knapsack. Ryan, why don't you say hi and introduce yourself real quick?
Yeah. Hey, everyone. Thanks, Chris, for having me. Good to be here. Usually I'm on the other end on the producing side of the podcast. So fun to be with you today to tell you more about Patterns and what we're going to be doing down in Santa Fe.
And again, this is all about storytelling. It's about figuring out how we continue to communicate the really awesome things that the people in the community around us are doing. And so I hope that we piqued your interest, kind of peeling it back a little bit. A few of the key facts, this is going to happen in June, the 6th through the 9th in Santa Fe, New Mexico, at this really incredible place called Bishop's Lodge. The conference itself is all about folks that are leaders in engineering, product, and design that want to understand more about why design systems matter to business strategy and what investments in design systems ultimately mean for their company's strategic vision and their ability to execute on that.
Yeah. So you kind of hit on I think first question, why do another design system related conference? There's lots of great conferences out there, but Chris, as we were talking about this over a year ago, I think it became really apparent based on that conversation and the conversations we have day in, day out with lots of folks on design system teams at lots of companies from, the top of the Fortune, 500 all the way down to startups. Design systems really need that practitioner leader alignment if they're going to be successful and really go beyond just, hey, I built a great system to our system got adopted and we're using it now to launch lots of cool products and features and stuff like that. So we wanted to, create space for leaders who maybe don't have the same time to kind of invest in online communities or go to the same sort of conferences where we're really focused on the how of systems and give them something that's more tailored to their needs, what they need to know to be effective leaders who are helping those teams, enable their systems to go be successful and get adopted.
This is our attempt to push back against this insurgency problem that we talk so frequently about on the podcast, how few people that are first adopting design systems at any size of organization have a lot of leadership buy-in. And leadership buy-in is a lot of different things, right? It's, first of all, a mandate to make a design system actually happen and be successful. Second, it's the ability to drive adoption internally inside an organization. And third, it's about budget and investment and focus on the value of a design system inside of a company. And for that all to be present, you need an organization's leadership to believe that it's strategically aligned with the objectives of the company or the organization. And so I think that that's really the core of it. I think that there's a sort of a subtext here also about pushing back against this idea of design systems being all about design problems. There's a lot of folks that see the word design system that are first exposed to it for the first time. And everybody probably listening to this podcast knows that usually executive leadership is 2 or 3 years behind the mental models of practitioners. They say oh, okay, isn't that this aspirational thing that is a design problem? And I think that a lot of folks in leadership don't really look at this as something that is core to how we build products. They look at it as core to how we organize design teams. And, if you listen to the show at all, you recognize that we tend to take a very democratized, very balanced viewpoint about who these systems are for. Yes, it's about the organization of a design team, but it's also about how the design team collaborates and works with product and engineering to ultimately build the things the company needs to represent itself on the internet.
Yeah, absolutely. Those leaders need to understand how the system kind of ties into and supports their goals. Things that we often hear, design system teams talk about. I want to create ease of use for other teams to consume the system. I want to make my other designers, developers faster. That's all great, but that's not necessarily what the leaders, need to hear or care about to commit to that, support, that budget, that resourcing that's going to make a system really effective. And so we try to think about, for at least for patterns, like we're bringing that back to like, what do leaders focus on, or what priorities do they have that, as the design system on the surface, they may not see that as a tool that supports it. But in actuality, a system being both product and process, really supports things like attracting and hiring great talent. People want to work on a team where they know that there's, process and there's like kind of a commitment to best practices. They want to onboard great talent, or maybe their agency partners more quickly. So we're not spending weeks or months within that game of like, where's the stuff? Where do I find the thing? We've all lived that life before, probably. And then down to like ensuring like, the brand that we're spending so much money on at any big company, that's being accurately reflected in like lots of the like one-off digital experiences that were, end up making a lot of meaning for people as they kind of see a big flashy ad come to the website, then have that intimate experience that moves them from like a potential customer into like a user or a customer of that company's product. So lots of things like that we'll be tapping into with patterns. So leaders can understand, hey, this is why I should resource that team, help my people. And, ultimately we love those design system practitioners out there, and we're just trying to find a way to get them some more support and I guess a bigger seat at the table within their orgs.
Yeah, certainly. And again, like there's a lot of great content that's out there for those practitioners, right? I personally love going to things like Clarity because you get to see a lot of voices in the community that are talking about things like, how we build design systems or what those design systems really mean and represent, and sort of that evolving conversation about what goes into your design system. And there is some content there that is about like, how to talk to your boss about this, or how to get budget for this inside of your organization. But fundamentally, those conversations are typically aimed at that practitioner level. And we're trying to basically talk about, now why you should give budget to your team for this, why this is strategically aligned, and why it matters to your organization to have these, because if you don't have one soon, you're going to get left behind. Kind of diving in a little bit more to the place, Ryan and I had the opportunity to visit there early in January. This resort's incredible. It's going to be a really exciting place to have this kind of a conference where it's all about sort of small cohorts of people being able to get an intimate view into why these things matter. This resort is just outside of Santa Fe. Almost everything in the event schedule is going to happen on the resort grounds. It's intended to be this intimate sort of personal experience between people that'll allow them to talk openly about their thoughts, their concerns, their challenges around design systems, and really kind of get to the core of why this stuff matters.
Yeah, I think too, as we bring leaders together, want to create that space for a little bit of, safetyness, for humility, for saying, hey, I don't know this, and to really ask some questions about something that, like we talked about earlier, their teams are probably a year, if not 2 years ahead of them, and they're thinking on where this thing is and what a system is and how to use it. And so, yeah, really trying to architect the time there around that kind of peer-to-peer discussion, bringing in some thought leaders, some folks who are maybe at different stages of the journey, whether we've got folks attending who are, just starting out from their systems, or maybe they're scrapping their old system for a new one. And then we've got folks there like from companies that have the systems you could name, and they've been at this for years and years and years, and they've kind of gone through it all, seen it all, and they're kind of now thinking about what's next for our system, and lending some of those learnings to the folks who are just starting out now, try to help everyone kind of get ahead a little bit faster.
We're taking this in kind of 3 steps. It's going to be a 3-day conference. And so it's all about, the first day being the problem. So what is it that is the problem the design systems go out and solve for big organizations? And then the second day is a lot more solution focused. So how do we actually think about the ways the design systems help us solve these issues? And then the third day is all about delivery. So what are some practical ways that you can look at delivery of these things as an executive leader? What are the metrics you need to measure? What are the ways you're making an impact? And how do you empower the teams that ultimately report to you to actually build this stuff the right way? And so the idea is to really spark some inspiration around this. And we get to do it in this really incredible, inspiring setting. I mean, it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to really get integrated with a lot of the local community inside of Santa Fe and other really cool experiences that kind of are going to help put us in the mindset of collaboration and working together. And I'm really excited to see what comes out of this.
Yeah. Well, hey, thanks again for having me on to just chat about this, and super excited again. Go to gopatterns.co, apply if you haven't applied already. We're taking applications right now. We're only taking 50 engineering, product, and design leaders total down to Santa Fe with us. So get that application in if you want to be in there. It's filling up already. And think too about, if you're a designer, bring your engineering partner. If you're a product person, bring a designer and engineer. Like, design systems are very much a cross-functional effort to make successful. And so all the better if we can get at least 2 or 3 parts of that triad there, kind of hearing, aligning, being part of this experience together. Early bird pricing is in place up until April 15th. Then it jumps up to the full registration fee. Check it out. It's going to be awesome.
I know I'm excited. Ryan, thanks for being on, talking about this briefly. Again, go to gopatterns.co to learn more. That's all for today. This has been another episode of the Design Systems Podcast. Thanks for listening. If you have any questions or a topic you'd like to know more about, find us on Twitter at the DS Pod. We'd love to hear from you with show ideas, recommendations, questions, or comments. As always, this pod is brought to you by Knapsack. You can check us out at knapsack.cloud. Have a great day.